Welcome again, everybody, to another episode of Director's Cut. My name is Brad Keelor. I am the director of the Geo-Institute, which is why we call it Director's Cut. And on this show, one time every week, I interview a member of the Geo-Institute about fun things. Some of the things may also be boring. They may be about their job, but most of the things are not boring, and that is why you have chosen to watch us today. Tune in, wait, fun questions. Today's guest from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign is Tugce Baser. Did I get it?
Almost.
Pretty close.
Pretty close, but you need more practice.
I need a lot more practice. So we're going to have 10 fun questions with her, maybe one or two bonus questions. Welcome, Tugce, and thank you for doing this today.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
We're going to start right out the same way we start with everybody else. You've got 30 or 45 seconds. Describe your job.
Okay. So I write words and form long sentences that 99.99% of the population does not want to read. And I use physics laws and that were created decades ago, and I use them and present them in a more fancier and more complicated way so that I can feel better about myself. And I also talk in people's sleep. So in layman terms, though, I perform research to tackle with the current global challenges. And I teach those global challenges to the students from K to 12, undergrad and grad levels, and provide them with the tools and pathways to tackle those global challenges. And I also serve my community, both professional community and society, at many different levels. And I have fun while I do those.
That is the most descriptive answer I've gotten yet in all the Director's Cut episodes. Please carry on that descriptiveness to our other questions. We will hit you with another one right away. What is your favorite pasta?
Okay, so this is a really difficult one for me. But so when you were preparing this question, did you know that my most favorite meal is like pasta ever?
I had no idea.
And I can eat pasta every day, and I wouldn't complain like at all. So, so that's why it's really difficult for me to pick one. But if you force me to pick one, probably I would go with fettuccine or maybe spaghetti. So being my favorite. But recently I discovered that I have a gluten intolerance. So
great for someone who loves pasta.
I know, right? So that was like probably the worst news that I ever had in my life. So I've been pretty upset about it. So, and I don't want to eat that gluten-free junk. I'm so sorry, guys, but
it's not terrible, but it's not the same. I'm with you on that.
Exactly.
So think back now. A lot of these interviews are about thinking back, reflecting on your entire life. When you were a kid, what did you want to be as an adult?
So, yeah, this is going to take some time. Do you have enough time for this?
We have enough time.
But the short answer is I did not know when I was a kid. So, and the long answer requires a little bit of background about my personality and my childhood, of course. So, when I was growing up, I was the only kid in my environment, and the whole family and in the, friends environment, always, asking the question, why? So when they ask me, my parents, for example, ask me to do something, and I would just answer back and say why I should do this. You have to explain it to me. So that created a lot of friction between me and my parents, of course. And then at some point they just gave up explaining why. But so it was not in an annoying way, but it was more philosophical and, understand the rules and where they came from, So I'm not against rules, don't get me wrong. I obey the rules, but I just need to know why I should do something and how those rules were created. So so as a kid, asking the question why all the time. So when they asked me what did I want to be when I was when I grew up, I just did not. the answer to that question, like I want to be a doctor or a lawyer and an engineer, just did not really fit well with my personality, to be honest. So I just like didn't want to pursue something that is prescribed, because I was always questioning like everything in my life as a kid. So then when I was in high school, of course, because of that question, I wanted to become a scientist. So, and I decided to pursue, the meaning of, not the meaning of life, but how the Earth started, Big Bang Theory to the creation of first protein, the Miller experiment. And I started reading those like books that was written by Charles Darwin, Origin of Species. And then I ended up going to college to study biology, which I did for 2 years. And then I decided that it was not really like for me, and I was a little bit like disappointed in biology in Turkey. So, but if I had to, if I had this like environment that we have right now, so probably I would go with, rocket scientist or an astronaut. So I'm pretty sure that I would be leading like colonization on Mars or Moon right now.
But that's a good answer. I mean, to ask why all the time like that, kind of being a researcher is the perfect career. Right. It's funny, you're like the third person out of these interviews, and this is the fifth one to give a similar answer to that. So I don't think it's a coincidence that you ended up doing this.
Right. Yeah.
Do you ever regale your colleagues with evolutionary tales when they're looking at a rock?
Well, I do, yes.
So you ended up at University of Illinois the last couple of years. I did not go to massive universities, and so one question I always have for people who are at big schools like that, at a huge school like Illinois, how do you make sure you work with faculty and students that are outside your little pod? Geology department, for example, or I don't know, any place else that you want to have a collaboration. How do you facilitate that and make sure it's a priority for you guys?
I think that's a really good question. And so probably my perspective, I hope that my perspective and then the approach that I've been following would, shed light to like others as well. I mean, being at a university like University of Illinois, that's big school and also a good school. So everyone that you meet like every day, they're like stars of their topics, right? And they're those like really smart and intelligent people. And so there's always this like, you always are impressed by what they do. But then when you're interacting with these people, of course, the first thing that you talk about is your major, what you do in research, because, so let's not kid ourselves. I mean, all of us are, kind of like nerds. So you always like talk about research, and then you try to, it's organically, this like relationship is being established when you talk about research, but also your personality also contributes to that. But in my opinion, so it's like one of the challenge, there are a lot of resources, and there are a lot of like, really good researchers on campus. And it's really the challenge is to find the right person, to collaborate, because you don't collaborate or you don't work with like just anyone else just because they are good, because there needs to be that, that organic connection, and that leads to a good collaboration. So I think the key here is to establish yourself on campus first. I mean, of course, we always care about this external grants, and you're, being a tenure track faculty, I have to bring external money, but there are a lot of resources on campus where you can actually leverage, to establish your research on campus so that your name is out there and people know you. And then, so that creates like a avenue and platform for you to connect with people much easier. So for example, I've been here for like 2 years now, October 16, my anniversary. So I always had like students, undergrad students, for example, from physics department, from geology department, who like wanted to work especially on like geothermal systems, for example. So they just like saw like a project that I did on campus. And I also now I am teaching a course on geoenergy systems. It's a senior level, but the students are mostly like grad students. So there's like one student from mechanical engineering. So when you establish yourself on campus and when people get to know you, it becomes, you know, so much easier. And then, you know, you interact, and that also requires a lot of time, by the way, like connecting with people, like searching for people. But once you only have like very little time to work with others, because, you know, you have to focus on other stuff as well. So
we'll talk about one of those campus resources in a few minutes. It's a very big, very cool campus resource.
Right.
But first, 2 retro questions. 1, what was your first concert? What do you remember about it? Totally changing the subject here.
Well, yeah, so let's see. So my first concerts, I cannot just tell one, because I cannot, you know, I'm very horrible at like picking the favorites. So so I would definitely say BB King concert in Colorado right just before he died, and the other one would be Carlos Santana concert in San Diego. So I know, so they I mean, they're like pretty recent, by the way. So I did not go to a lot of concerts when I was growing up because, you know, except the spring festivals that my universities organized. But yeah.
Still a good answer. Doesn't matter if they're recent or not. Those are good choices. So again, think back, maybe farther on this one. How did you get involved in ASCE and GI?
Okay, so I don't remember how, but I have a memory when it happened. So it was over an happy hour that included a lot of drinks, and this is how they lured me into GI. So now it was just a student meeting. So when I first started my PhD at CU Boulder, so I was called into a student meeting. It was about a competition called GeoWall. So I had no idea what a GeoWall competition was. So it was like Eric Jensen, CJ, and Melissa, they were like leading the effort. So they were like talking about a box and a sand, reinforcing approaches. And then I was just like sitting there in the room, like clearly no idea what was going to happen with this GeoWall competition. So they tried to explain it to me, but it just like didn't click until I went to the conference. And so then I had the experience of the geo-congress. It was Atlanta, Georgia conference in 2014. So then it all made sense to me. And, you know, so then I understood that I had to become, I mean, you kind of feel like, okay, you have to become a part of this and you have to become a member. And, you know, so you immediately become a student member. So I was a member of GI first, and then ASCE. Yeah. And
for everybody out there watching, if you are a student, it is free to become a student member of ASCE and GI. Remember to pick that institute. And we have a gazillion ways for you to get involved, including the student competitions that Tugce talked about. There are clips on our YouTube channel. There's information on geoinstitute.org if you want more, or you can always contact us, or you can contact Tugce and she will tell you how to get involved in the GI.
I strongly encourage that you get involved because it's a lot of fun. I mean, of course, like being a member, of course, this is a professional setting where you meet with your peers and, you know, those like legends and everyone. But also, it's a lot of fun. You have a lot of fun with your friends.
A ringing endorsement. So now the campus resource, maybe the mother of all campus resources in Urbana-Champaign. Have you seen Blue Waters? What was your impression of it at first? Maybe we have to tell people what Blue Waters is before that question.
Okay, but before I answer your questions, so I know that I changed like one of the questions in the list. So I did not change this one. because my answer is no. I have not seen blue waters, and I'm ashamed of it. I'm sorry.
You got to get over there.
I know, right? So Blue Waters, it's this like amazing resource on campus for high efficiency computational modeling. So and it provides you exactly like right resources if you're, doing like those like massive computations. And so it's like, I mean, I heard a lot about it and I saw the pictures. I know that it's amazing. I have no doubt. But so I have this like pending proposal that I'm supposed to hear like very soon. If I get it, I will be definitely, I mean, I have to use the blue water. So then probably that will be my excuse to visit it.
You'll be forced. It is very cool. It will blow your mind. That's why I put that in there. I was impressed.
Yeah. Sorry, I disappointed you a little bit, I know.
No, this is what we're doing here. The answers have to be honest. So now up to the question you changed. We were going to ask Tugce about zoos and aquariums, but she didn't want to answer a question about zoos and aquariums. So we changed it instead to a sporting question that was to be determined. So you're going to guide us here. You really wanted a sports question in here. What's your favorite sport? How did you get into that sport?
Right. So I played a lot of sports when I was growing up, and basketball was the one who like that stuck with me for a long time. So I played basketball for 6 years when I was in when I was in high school first, and then when I was a freshman at college. So I just had to quit at some point because there were just like logistic issues. The practices were like really like far. So this was when I was studying biology in Ankara. So those like practice place was really far from my house. So the commute was, very like challenging for me. So I had to quit. But in the meantime, I also played tennis in a less professional way, but also volleyball. But yeah, I would definitely list basketball as my favorite sports. And, and when I was in high school and I was playing it, I was just, I would wake up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. just to watch the Bulls games. So, but that was like a really like dark time for Bulls. It was after the, the whole like breakup thing. And I was just, like, I remember myself praying, okay, come on, cheering for Bulls. And then Bulls were like constantly losing the games. And I kind of like developed a sympathy for Dallas Mavericks because of Dirk Nowitzki. I really like German profession and sports. So then, when you wake up in the middle of the night, of course your parents wake up. And my dad would, chase him in the house and, try to like put me back in sleep, and he would be so mad. But so then I moved here, and so my first game, NBA game that I saw was, of course, when I was in Colorado, it was Nuggets versus Lakers. And, I have like mixed feelings because, Nuggets were, Nuggets, So they were just like a regular NBA team that, people, and there was this like Lakers. So, but that game, actually, the Nuggets won that game. And I cheered for the Nuggets for the whole 2 hours, and then they won it, and then they also won my heart. So I still go to Nuggets games. I just literally fly to Denver for that.
So wait a minute. So you're in Illinois now, and you're now not a Bulls fan? Is that where this is going?
Yeah. So like seeing like Nuggets, for the first time, like it was my like live game ever. So, and I became a Nuggets fan. So and I like literally I'm not kidding. I literally fly to Denver a couple of times a year to see the Nuggets games.
Well, that's okay, because it's more dark times for the Bulls now anyway, so.
Yeah, right. And Nuggets are doing really well.
Then you've obviously been to an Illini game or two, I would imagine. And do you know about the history of the Illini basketball program, and have people filled you in?
I know a little bit, not entirely, but I know just a little bit. So I have a friend who's like really like, I mean, he grew up here in Champaign, and then now he lives in a different state, but he's very close. So he occasionally drives here just to see the basketball games.
Excellent. Well, now I see why you wanted that question in there. That was really good. So thank you. So now we have one career question left and one fun one left. What is your proudest moment so far in your career?
So I would say, so when I first made my own coffee by myself, it was my proudest moment, because I believe that the coffee is the fuel to your engine, which drives you to the success. But no, so that's not my real answer. No. So my proudest moment, the real answer is, I think it was when I started my PhD here in Colorado, and so my mom told me that. So my dad was like, talking about me to his friends, and he was like so proud that I, made it here. So yeah, when she told me that your dad is like speaking very highly of you to his friends, he feels so proud, and that was the proudest moment in my life.
Oh, that's a good answer too. See, you've given some very unexpected ones, but they have been great today. Final question. What talent have you developed as a result of COVID-19 and quarantine? I feel like everybody is doing something new. What is your new thing, Tugce?
Well, okay, so then my answer is going to surprise you probably, because I mean, I can, give you those like correct answers, like in a job interview where I actually list my weaknesses and I rephrase them as my strengths and, like talents, right? But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lie to you. I did not develop anything. I'm only applying the existing talents to cope with COVID.
To do bigger and better things. There is nothing wrong with that either. So if you've watched any of these, you know that there is always a bonus question that I pull out that I did not put in the original list.
I'm so curious, yeah.
You are the most prolific user of emojis of any GI member. What is your favorite emoji and why?
I think that's the one. I mean, you could totally tell if you ask like anyone, they would tell this like smiling face with the tears coming out of the eyes. So and also people think that it looks like me, when I smile.
That's a solid choice.
I kind of like resonate that like face with my face when I smile. Yeah.
Very good. So now everybody is going to be looking for emojis in every email that they get from you. So do not let them down.
I won't, So yeah, but so that's a really good observation actually. So I like to use those emojis in my emails too, like everywhere, because I kind of feel like it it makes things more genuine, and those like emails. Sometimes they're so cold, I mean, you convey the message in a really cold way through emails, but I just want others to know that how I feel when I was writing that email. So. Or
that there's actually a person on the other end who's typing it and stuff. I mean, I think that's important. You're right.
Yep.
So Tugce, you have survived Director's Cut. Everyone has so far. We have a survival rate of 100%. I genuinely hope that continues. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to the viewers for sticking with us to the end. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked this, we have several other episodes of Director's Cut. Last week, for example, was with GI Past President Alan Cadden. Next week, we'll be with GI President 2020-2021, Jim Collin. We have a lot of other great videos on YouTube as well. Click subscribe, click get notifications. You will be in the know whenever we post anything new. We have a lot of good live streams. Peruse geoinstitute.org for other content. We are a content factory. Thanks again for being with us today. Thanks again, Tugce.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really enjoyed it, really.
It was a lot of fun. Everybody have a good week. See you soon.
Bye.